you and I were on the phone during this. It looked like Lucas Giolito like had trouble fucking breathing there in the dugout in between the sixth and seventh inning. And the White Sox, Pedro Grifol made the decision to go to Joe Kelly there. And how did you feel at that moment? What did you say to the people who think that Lucas Giolito should have been able to finish this ball game with his no-hitter intact?
I think it's just kind of par for the course with what you see in the game of baseball today. I mean, look, he got through 6 innings. He still would have had 9 outs to cover at that point. To get through that, additional 9 outs right there, you figure you're looking at probably 30 to 35 pitches, so you're going to run into the 120, 125 mark, and guys just don't go that deep anymore. And it's part of it is a conditioning aspect of it here. Guys, they're just not really given the opportunity to do it, so they're not built for it anymore. And then also the time through the order penalty does exist. I guess my question to you would be this, Anthony. Would you be happy if he was still out there pitching with a no-hitter theoretically in the 9th inning and he was losing it and the team ended up giving up 4 runs in the 9th because of it?
I guess where I counter with that is there's been generations of baseball players who have been able to do this. And I think my anger doesn't go towards the managerial decisions to pull people based on analytics in this. I'm speaking very, very frank on the matter. It's not towards them because they're trying to put their team in the best position to win a baseball game. That's understood. I think some of this comes back to players' agents, the contracts, the way that people are developed now to pitch.
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah, no, it's 100% that. I mean,
and that's where I'm angry with it because I thought it was one of the coolest parts about watching baseball was seeing a guy throw 150 pitches and get through that 9th inning and just get it done and then go ice his arm out. Yes, we've developed as a society to know like that might not be the best for somebody's arm and a multi-million-dollar investment, but it took away something that I thought was cool and tough, right? And now it feels lame and weak because, we're protecting this multi-million-dollar investment. If you're going to buy a fucking Ferrari, I want to see you take it and go 120 miles an hour in it instead of just sitting there going, okay, we'll drive at 80. Like, just fucking ride it at least once. It's like having a sports car and then doing the speed limit in it. It wasn't designed to do that. These athletes that are here now in the major leagues are still the same kind of guys that were the athletes back then. All of the money involved in this thing sort of ruined the ability to look at somebody go do something fucking cool that nobody else on this earth is going to be able to fucking do. And now all of a sudden we're driving them in fucking bubble wrap. So it sort of, it defeats the purpose for me of watching that.
Well, this has been an interesting discussion point over the last couple 2-3 days when you look at what's gone on with the NCAA baseball playoffs and the regionals that just took place. There was a pitcher on Southern Miss, I believe it was, that threw 120 pitches in a game on Friday and then was literally starting the game last night. And this is apparently a guy that is a first or second round prospect. And, they're just running him into the fucking ground a couple weeks before he gets drafted. And then theoretically he'll get drafted and he won't be tasked with throwing more than like 75 pitches for the remainder of the year. It's fascinating to think about, just the way that there are a lot of college coaches actually that will go out there and that will abuse the hell out of their workhorse pitchers. 120, 130 pitches, without any hesitation. And then those guys, they do get into pro ball and, once
they're handled with kids' gloves.
Yeah. No,
and I think a lot of that, man, this is my personal opinion. A lot of that is the agent.
Oh, 100%. It's 100%. It's not just, or I should say, it's not just the agent. It's also a byproduct of the fact that pretty much every team has, an Ivy League GM that is just looking at things from an algorithm and looking at it from an ROI perspective. The players, they are, quote unquote assets.
What's the ROI on a fucking no hitter or perfect game? I know we're not talking about today's baseball game at this point. This is sort of off the rails. What's the ROI on a perfect game, Steven? You've been to a bunch of no hitters, perfect games. Those are magical memories.
They are.
Those are selling points for your team. Those are things that you can look back on as a fan. And I feel like there's been this unwritten sort of, let's beat around the bush discussion that's taken place within baseball. And one of those is you're never going to see another fucking no-hitter again unless the guy can do it under 110 pitches.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily say that it's a selling point for the teams per se. It is really more so about the individual pitchers and, kind of an experience for fans. We were damn close to adding another one to my total last September when we were all together congregated. And it would have been really fucking sweet to have done it against those shitbags from Canada South. Fuck you, Luis Ariz, you cocksucker.
Yeah, we're gonna see him next.
Yeah, that
this
fucking
weekend.
motherfucker. I hate him. It's just kind of what it is now at this point. Efficiency, something I talk about pretty regularly with starting pitchers needing to do that.
But here's the next question though. If Michael Kopech goes and throws a no-hitter on the road and throws 130 fucking pitches, his next start at home is going to sell out.
That's no, it won't. And I'll give you a perfect example. Phil Lumber's next start after the perfect game in Seattle in 2012, they didn't even have 20,000 people there. And they were playing the Ginger Sox.
Okay,
so
Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like it builds momentum for your team. I still remember the
and I can give you another example. I can give you another example of how it doesn't build momentum. 2009, when Mark Burnley threw the perfect game against Tampa Bay, that game literally got them tied for first place, and this is in July. Got them tied for first place. I didn't say
it gives the team momentum. I said it makes fans excited.
You said momentum.
It's a moment in baseball.
You said momentum in there.
It'll give fans momentum to get to the ballpark. I mean, I would, as a fan. Maybe other people aren't going to go out there and want to go cheer on the guy that just threw a no-hitter on the road. I don't know. Maybe it's a Tuesday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon on a getaway day where the next time somebody's, turn in the rotation comes through. But I at least I feel like as a fan, I'm going to want to go out there and support that guy. And we've got attendance problems, right? Like I just tweeted something out the other day. The White Sox have lost 20% in attendance thus far this season, which is the most out of any Major League Baseball team. And for good reason. They played shit baseball to start this 2023 campaign.
And they're an unserious organization.
You need good moments throughout the season. You do. I think you do need good moments throughout the season. It gives people something to talk about and remember. There was a whole documentary, Steven, that we just did an interview with the guy who directed and produced it on a team that had good moments, that is a lasting memory for many individuals. Some of that's about the stadium, but it's also about the team itself. You got to give people the opportunity, in my opinion, to achieve something that other people aren't going to be able to do. Lucas Giolito at 100 pitches, I might have given him the ball to go out there one more inning.
I mean, he's already got the no-hitter under his belt, though.
He does. I know he does. But do you think I don't know how many pitches Burley was at. I'm sure it was well less than what Giolito was at tonight. But do you think that would have been the same discussion a couple of years ago when Mark Burley was in the dugout, or do you think he would have said, "Fuck you, I want that baseball. I'm going out there. I'm finishing this thing," versus the attitude that we get now?
I mean, 2009 baseball versus 2023 baseball is drastically different. It's almost like you can't even really compare the two, to be completely honest with you. I think at this point, it's more important about the White Sox continuing to win baseball games versus the risk factor of going out there and trying to get a no-hitter. I mean, look, I'll give you another example. In 2009, White Sox and my personal nemesis, Johan Santana, on the New York Mets, did the first no-hitter in franchise history, threw 125 pitches in that game. He was literally never the same ever again. His arm literally started to fall off after that. So there's a lot of risk reward that goes along with that. And if we want the White Sox to be hashtag redacted, would you rather have that or Lucas Giolito throw a no-hitter?
Flags fly forever and legends never die, Stephen.
So you'd rather have a division title.
I think you can have your cake and eat it too.
We're White Sox fans. That's not allowed, right?
We are, but what are the chances? You've said it a million times. What are the chances the White Sox actually get themselves back in this division and then go on a playoff run? You're the one who's championed that. So wouldn't you have rather had one no-hitter at this to talk about and remember from this
Honestly,
team?
I mean, I saw my favorite White Sox player. I attended my favorite White Sox player ever throwing a no-hitter in a terrible season. So honestly, it doesn't really mean a lot to me at this point.
Yeah, well, we've got some comments in here. Sox Insane says, wins over no-hitters. We already know that, Besnick. In fact, we do. I blame this guy for every single no-hitter that's ever been lost in the history of baseball at this point in time.
Checks out.
If you don't follow him, you can follow at Sox Insane, and you can watch no-hitters go to die on that Twitter account. Sockside Mike says, I just want to win ball games and drink victory beers. I do too, Mike. That's one of my favorite things to do, and that's why I do them on this show with everybody else. Voodoo is in here, says division titles mean nothing. World Series banners fly the highest. That is absolutely true. And then we've got another one in here. Burley throws 300 pitches minimum for a no-no.
That's just fake news. Mark Burley throwing 300 pitches. Voodoo, whatever you were on, send some of it this way, because now I know you're talking nonsense at this point. Mark Burley throw 300 pitches in 9 innings. Get the hell out of here.
I mean, it's a little egregious. It's a little egregious, but I think the math might check out here.
The math does not check out.
Math checks out here. You got to be cool and tough, and you got to be able to throw that many pitches to get the no-hitter done.
Mark Burley would never have to.
Yeah, well, that's part of the whole facts only portion. He would if he was put in the position to, Stephen.
But he wouldn't need to.
Stefan, sorry, I'm already fucking this up.
It's a terrible analogy. It's a terrible analogy because Mark Burley would never throw 300 pitches in a game. You know why? Because Mark Burley just got the ball and pounded the fucking strike zone. That's what he did.
Well, if he had to, he would. Per Voodoo,
but he wouldn't.
I think that's at least one sauce for you.